While you're waiting on God to bless you financially, God is waiting on you. You know, I'm not a Bible scholar, but there are two scriptures that have helped me over the years. Mark 11, verse 24. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you've already received it, and it will be yours. And if my memory serves me correctly, James 2, verse 14 to 17. Faith without works is dead. Now, I remember working with a bartender for years. Um, he was a friend. We used to talk about, what we want to do with our lives and, you know, the business we want to start. And one of the things we talked about was starting a tour company, a transportation business. But none of us took action because, number one, we didn't really have faith because we thought we didn't have the money. We thought that we needed a lot of capital. And we just talked about it over and over and we never took action. And I remember, just being fed up of the way my life was going. I just wanted to change my life financially. And I didn't think that a job was going to do that for me because a job is the way that a job is designed and structured is, they just give you a little to keep you coming back. You know, it might be a great job. You might be making more money than your friends or your family. But without that job, your money is going to be completely gone because you are dependent on someone to constantly feed you financially. And so I knew that. And I said the only way I'm going to get out of this is if I have something that is constantly, turning a lot of money for me. And that has to be a business. And again, I didn't have the faith to really start the business. And I didn't think I have enough money. So I did what I thought that so I did what was easy. I started a pepper farm. I remember having a conversation with my dad that I want to start a pepper farm because growing up, my dad was into farming. He was always planting peppers and he would take us to the field and we would plant peppers and we would reap the peppers and we would sell it to my uncle who was in the export business. My uncle was exporting peppers to the United States and different countries. And so I knew how to plant peppers and I knew I had my dad to guide me if I was ever to make any mistakes. And I remember talking to my dad and he said, go to the agriculture um, people in Lucy, which is a town of where I live. And, I spoke to him about, cutting the land. I think it was 2 acres of land. And when the day came for me to go and buy the pepper, this was my first big venture as it relates to entrepreneurship. I was so nervous. I was so scared. I was I was like, should I do this? Like, can I do this? And I went and I took action while being fearful. I went to the agriculture department in Lucy and I bought the peppers. I bought a bunch of peppers. I remember putting the trays into the back of my car and I drove home. And when I drove home and I started unpacking the trays, I felt more nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm home with these peppers. Like, I'm going to do this. Like, I was so afraid. The day came for me to cut the land because it had a lot of trees and bushes and stuff, and I had to cut the land. But I couldn't do it on my own. So my dad told me about two guys from a different town. One of them I went to school with. Um, his name is Desmond. Desmond was a little bit, you know, crazy in the head. Not crazy like crazy, crazy, but he was a little bit special. But he could work. He was a workhorse And everybody in the community, everybody in different towns, they would use Desmond to cut their land so that they could plant stuff. And then there's another guy who was also just like Desmond. He was really, really good. So those two guys were always booked up. Like they were always working for people. People were always, you know, using them to cut their land and stuff. And Desmond I could communicate with. The other guy, he was deaf and he was dumb. And and I remember I couldn't get Desmond, so I got the other guy. And it was a challenge. I said, Dad, how am I gonna communicate with this guy? And he said, you just have to make up sign language. And so that's what I did. I went and I asked for him, and I found him. And I said it was a Sunday, um, that I needed to do the work. And I went after work. I think it was a Friday, and I found him. And I made up my sign language. I said, I need you to chop bush, to cut trees. And I said, Sunday, Sunday. And I'm putting up signs like worship. And he nodded, he got it. And so I said, I am gonna come back, drive, and get you. I'll pick you up and I'm gonna take you, and we're gonna cut the trees, and we're gonna create a fire. And he nodded, he said he got it. So that's what I did. I went back the Sunday. I told him, I think I told him what time I was gonna pick him up, and I got back and I picked him up. And I started feeling more confident, and I started feeling more faith as I'm doing it, as I'm in the process of doing it. The faith started building. And God has a way of working on your faith, but he needs you to take action. Like, you need to take action. And so I picked him up and I drove him to my house and I showed him the land, and I got him to cut part of it. And then the rest of it, I got people from my community to help me with the rest. So I would get rum, I would get food, and I would play music. And I got a bunch of friends and people in the community to help me to cut the rest of the land. And I remember Lindsay, one of the guys, looked at me and he said, "Yo, this is a lot of work. I hope you're serious. Like, I hope we're not just cutting this just for fun. Like, I hope you're gonna go through with this." And when he said that, I felt more scared. I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like, you know, I don't know if he saw the fear on me. I don't know what he saw, but when he said that, like, he was saying what I was thinking in my head. Like, I hope I can do this. I hope I do this. And so, they cut the land, and the land was ready, and I started plowing. I started digging every day before I go to work. I would get up in the morning early. I would go and I would plant peppers, and I would get home from work, you know, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and I would just use light. I would get like a flashlight, and I would go and I would plant peppers, and I, worked really hard, and I would hire people to do the rest of the job. Some people, they take advantage of me because I didn't really know what I was doing, and peppers, I think I did like 2 acres, and the peppers grew. And now I'm looking at a lot of peppers and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to make a lot of money. I actually did this. And I felt really good. My faith was building because I took action. And peppers don't do well in the rainy season. So I planted in the month where it wasn't going to rain, or in the months where it shouldn't be raining, because my dad told me when to plant them. And we weren't expecting rain, but a lot of rain came and they drowned. So I lost everything. And the interesting thing is, instead of feeling disappointed, I actually felt good because I felt like I won. I felt like I took action, and I could feel my faith muscle growing. And so I'm like, all right, that failed. What's next? I was ready to move on to another project. So I spoke with my dad. He said, let us do potatoes. Um, he said, potatoes do well in the red ground. So we started a new project in Manchester, which is 2 hours away from where I live. My dad, my stepmom, where my dad met my stepmom. And so my stepmom's brother was always planting potatoes. That's what they do. So my dad had a little bit of knowledge, but my stepmom's brother, he was like the real knowledge behind the whole project. And so I was depending on my dad. My dad was guiding the project. My dad was leaning on his brother-in-law, and we got a few acres. And I was funding the project, and I decided, we're gonna go all in. We're gonna go hard on this one. And so we got people. We pay people to cut the land, plow the land, and we plant the sweet potatoes. And the funny thing is, we were expecting rain, but no rain came. And everything died. So we lost again. So with the pepper, I wasn't expecting rain. Rain came. With the potato, I was expecting rain. No rain came. And so I lost again. But the interesting thing again, I I didn't feel disappointed. I actually felt great because I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this. Like I'm like I'm an entrepreneur. Like I'm taking action. Like I'm actually doing it. And what I realized was God was building my faith muscle in the process, because I wanted to start a transportation business, but I had no faith. I had no faith, and you have to take. How do you show God that you have faith? How do you prove faith? By taking action. Faith without works is dead. And so I sat down and I thought about the whole thing. I'm like, the pepper, I was leaning on my dad for his knowledge, and I failed. I didn't really fail, but the project failed. The sweet potato, I was leaning on my dad. My dad was leaning on his brother-in-law, and it failed. And I asked myself, like, what am I good at? Like, what do I know? Like, what can I apply? What can I start doing that I'm already knowledgeable in? And I said, I'm already taking people, like meeting people at the hotels. I show them different spots around, Jamaica. I show them where I live. I meet a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends. I meet a lot of people. And I'm already showing people parts of Jamaica, even though sometimes I don't charge. I'm already doing this and I'm good with people. So why not just take the leap and do the transportation business? And here's where the challenge started. I had no clue how to go about this transportation business. I didn't know what to do, like what was the first step. But I had the faith now. And I had the momentum of taking action. And so I just went to the town of Lucy and I asked, like, where do people go to get into the tour business? And they said the tour office is over there. And I went to the tour office. They told me it's $50,000 to join for the year. I paid the $50,000. They told me what to do next, and I just followed the process. And I just started taking action. Went to one office in Montego Bay. They sent me to another office. Then from there to another office. But if I didn't take action on the pepper and the potato, I wouldn't have had the faith and the momentum of action to really take on the project of starting a tour company. And that's what I did. And I started the tour company. Well, let me back up. Let me back up. So before I started the tour company, now my two projects failed, the pepper and the sweet potato. And I had a car that I drive to and from work. And a couple, I remember coming home from work, and there was a guy, there was a mechanic. I guess he borrowed someone's car, and I just had gas. I just went to get gas to fill up my tank to go home. And just as I was approaching a roundabout, he was looking at a girl's butt, and he ran into my rear, and I heard bang, and it was so loud and scary. I didn't know what hit me, and so I started shaking in the car. I'm like, what happened? And I looked around and I saw the guy, and he started freaking out. He said, I'm sorry, just follow me. And so I jumped in my car. He was driving away so fast because he was so scared. I guess he didn't want the cops to, see him. And so I'm driving behind him, and we drove all the way to the area where he does the work, him and his other mechanics. And so they fixed my car. And then around 4 to 5 weeks later, I was driving home. I did the night shift, and I was driving home after 11. And there was a place that there was a huge pothole in the road. And it doesn't matter what you're driving, you have to slow down to really go into the pothole and then come out. And I remember going down in the pothole, and I heard a car like driving so fast behind me. And I'm like, whoever is driving this fast, it has to be somebody who knows the road, because there's no way you're going to drive this fast when there are a lot of potholes all around. But it turned out that person was drunk. And as I'm slowly getting out of the pothole, the car came up from behind and hit me so hard and pushed my car out of the pothole. And my car was like messed up from behind. And I was like afraid because it was dark. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like two hit, two hits in a month. And the person came out. I saw the person walking in the dark coming towards my car, and I'm like, I'm not coming out because I don't know if somebody is trying to rob me or what. And the guy came up to my car, and when I realized it was a guy I grew up with, Walvin. And I'm like, oh man, like why does it have to be you? Like why you? Because I can't even pressure him as hard as I would like to, because he's a friend. He's somebody I grew up with. And I was so pissed. I'm like, man, like, and he's like telling me, oh, I'm sorry, I was down the road drinking. He was so drunk. And I realized I couldn't talk to him. I was so pissed. I called his brother, and I'm like, yo. And I started telling his brother, like, what just happened. And yo, you need to talk to your brother about this drinking. And he's like, talk to him for what? Like, we don't speak. But, anyways, he fixed my car. So I drove home, and he said, listen, I'll take care of your car. Don't worry about it. Just go home, park, and I'll take care of the rest. I go home. And the moment I got home, as soon as I parked the car, I felt something. I heard a voice inside me said, put your hands on your car and pray over your car and sell it. And the funny thing is, the first accident I heard, the voice says, it said, sell your car. It's time to sell your car. The first time I had the accident, I heard the voice telling me to sell the car, and I ignored it. And the second accident was worse. And this time the voice was so clear, was so obvious that I couldn't ignore it. I just laid my hands on my car and I prayed over it and I said, I'm going to sell it. And I knew in my mind, I'm like, this is it. I got to sell the car. Like, I got to listen. And I might have to walk to work. I might have to walk. I might have to take taxi until I can afford to buy the vehicle. And so I sold the car and I walked for 3 months. And like, think about this. God has been speaking to me, telling me to take. See, I would not have taken action without having those accidents. You see, there are things that happen into your life, things that happen to you that you can't explain. God will have you get fired just to have you take action. And so I remember walking, taking taxi, and I was going to work, and there was this guy I played soccer with. His name is Bigger, and I said, Bigger, Cadian. I said, Cadian. His nickname is Bigger, but his real name is Cadian. I said, Cadian, yo, this. I saw a bus, and I said, that's the kind of bus I'm gonna buy. That's my first bus. That's gonna be my bus. And I remember telling him that, and About a week later, I was going to work and I couldn't get taxi. I think it was a holiday and there was not a lot of taxi on the road. And so I had to take the longer route to work. So I had to go to a different area to get taxi. So I went to that area, got the taxi, and when I got into the town of Lucy, I saw a guy who was living in my community by the name of Romy. And I said, "Yo, this is the kind of bus I was thinking about getting. Like, where did you get it? Like, how much do you pay for it?" And he said, "Do you want one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would love one, but I don't think I have the money." And he said, "It's not a lot of money. Like, how much do you think?" I said, "I heard they're like 1.2 million." And he's like, "I got mine for 850, and I can take you to the guy tomorrow. He import them from Japan, and I can take you there." I sold my car. I had money saved up, and I'm like, "Oh my god! Like, I have the money. I didn't know that I had the money, but it's as if God set up the whole thing where I couldn't get the taxi, so I had to take the longer road to find that guy. And if I had my car, I would have driven the shorter route. So my car got messed up. I sold my car. Now I have the money, and I had a little money in the bank. Now I have the money to buy the bus to start my business. And that's how I was able to start the transportation business, which changed my life. But it all has to do with, you know, stepping out in faith, taking action. Instead of waiting on God, I've been waiting for years talking about this thing with Vinroy, and I never took action. And the moment I started taking action, it doesn't matter if you're not starting with the thing that you wanted to start with. Whatever you start with is going to build your faith muscle. And so, that's what I wanted to share this morning. And I hope I can, inspire someone this morning. But if you don't know where to start, for me, I live in America, and I've been struggling ever since I got here. But one of the things I started was a loan signing business, a side business. I don't really do much of it anymore because I don't really like to leave my house for work. I I prefer to I've been working for years and I'm burnt out. Like I guess you could say I'm now lazy, which I don't think I'm lazy because my dad grew us in a way where our work ethic is really good. But I don't want to work for people and I don't want to work hard anymore because you don't have to. And so now I own a cleaning business. I don't do the cleaning. I hire the people to do the cleaning. So it's all about using leverage. My uncle was using leverage. He would get us to plant the pepper. He would buy the pepper from us. He would export the pepper. He was leveraging us. And over the years, I've learned if you understand the idea of leverage, it can totally change your life. So I leverage other people to do the cleaning. I get the job, I send them on the job, they do the cleaning, and I give them a cut. And now I have a online business where I sell digital products. And this to me is the game changer because my cleaning business is restricted to a country, it's restricted to a few towns. My digital products, I'm selling them all over the world. The entire globe is my marketplace. And the good thing is, selling digital products, initially I thought it was going to be hard because I'm not a technical person. I hate tech. I don't like anything that has to do with tech. And I was able to find someone to make the product for me, to build my website, to set up my automations. And now I only work 2 hours a day. And my number one selling product is $900. So I make anywhere from $900 to $1,800 a day, 1 to 2 sales per day. And so if you are like me, you're burned out, you're tired of working, and you just need something to help you change your life. You want to work from home or you want to work remotely from your phone. It is not complicated. It's not hard. You know, again, you just need to take action and you just need to take action. That's it. You just need to take action. And so, I'm a part of a community where you have millionaires, you know, you have multiple six-figure earners and, millionaires teaching us on Zoom mentorship, teaching us every single week. We have like 3 to 4 Zoom meetings every week, and they teach us what they're doing, like, what strategies they're using, like how are they able to sell their products. And they're doing it for free just because I'm a part of the community. You know, not a lot of people know about these things, but there are ways out there to make money. Like, what are you good at? Whatever you're good at, whatever you know, you can sell it. You can sell your knowledge. That's a world we're living in right now where knowledge is worth gold. You can, if you are somebody who does daycare, you're somebody who is a hairdresser, you're somebody who does landscaping, like, what are you good at? You can sell your knowledge. And so for me, I sell digital products, and my digital products teach people how to make money online. Whether you have zero technical skill, whether you're 40 like me, or over 40, or over 50, or over 60, you can start a business from your home and you can sell your product all over the world. And so if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'm going to leave a link in the comment section that shows you the blueprint. So see you guys on the next